allows for averaging in terms of noise. But clearly, if you're allowed to average the peak noise, you're going to end up with problems, because averaging will pick times where the turbine is not loud or perhaps not even running, and it'll average it with times when it is running. So you've got to look very carefully at these things.
I apologize for offering another comment. At least with respect to the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, or as we call it, OSHA, which is part of the Department of Labor and oversees workplace enforcement of standards. There's two different types of noise. One is the continuous noise and the impulse noise. Impulse noise would be the so-called stamping you might see in a metal manufacturing facility. Continuous noise, of course, is the obvious. In the Occupational Safety and Health Administration guidelines for industry in terms of assessing noise levels, they always average it, which means that if there's a 100 decibel exposure for 4 hours, and you're exposed for another 4 hours for 80 decibel, your 8-hour time-weighted average would be 90 decibels. It's used for all sorts of occupational standards, whether it's asbestos, solvents, formaldehyde, whatever it may be, that one does average the exposure over time. Whether that's applicable here, I don't know. We could debate that all night long, but that's been the approach that's been used by OSHA and the EPA, I might add.
It's an interesting point. I would say, based on the data that I presented, which was arrived at by ultra-modern sound recording equipment, which is really not accessible to 99% of the acousticians working in the field. The pulsatile or impulsive nature must be captured, because it is that impulsive nature that is going to set, that impulsive nature of low frequencies that is going to set your homes rattling. When your homes are rattling, you're going to get rattled.
I think what I'm going to do at this moment is just ask both of you gentlemen who've traveled so far, just like to make a final wrap-up comment for us, and then I'll wrap the whole thing.
I think we just have to be conscious. This is not a question of pro-wind or anti-wind turbine. That's really a political and economic question. The question is, if we're going to have them, where do we put them? And based on what's, and also how mature or how established or how settled is the science. And it turns out that science is developing, new technologies arriving every day that looks at wind turbine noise with greater and greater accuracy and resolution. Asia Pedersen herself, whose studies formed the bedrock of the AWEA white paper, has said that sleep disturbance is an issue and that this should be further investigated. To close the door at this point and make the suggestion that further research is not needed and not advocated for is frankly irresponsible.
I didn't come here to defend the white paper of AWEA, although I feel as though I'm being put in that position right now. Frankly, I think there is enough information out there about wind turbines in proximity, people living in proximity of wind turbines, and there's enough experimental information with respect to low-frequency sound as well as infrasound to draw reasonable inferences about potential effects. When I first approached this topic, I really had no interest whatsoever in potential health implications of wind turbines until I was asked to be part of this panel. And I tried to take an open-minded approach to it, and I still take an open-minded approach to it. There's no question that some people may be very annoyed and really adversely affected by the sound and the characteristics of the sound. There's no question that annoyance, when it persists, can cause sleep disturbance. There's no question when sleep disturbance persists, it can cause adverse health effects and all sorts of consequences. However, I am struggling to try to understand how the noise from wind turbines is really substantially different than noise from other aspects of human life, whether it's trucking, transportation, railroading, aviation, and so forth. So that's where I draw the line. Thank you.
So can we go up, thank both of our speakers. I think we had our intended effect. We all know more than when we started. And that's really what we wanted everyone to do, is to have more information so that we can each draw our own conclusions as we all, as a community, continue these debates about how our community develops and what happens here. On behalf of the Rutland Regional Medical Center, thank you all for coming tonight. And I know, again, our speakers are more than willing to take some of your private questions. And thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well, I wasn't really volleyball.